Article 160 of the Constitution states that voters should be as sure as possible for whom they are voting. What are some essential qualities candidates should possess?
Somebody with impeccable integrity.
They need to be willing to serve, that is to get out in the community, spend some energy about the things.
They should not be racial. Mature. They need to be mature in certain situations.
They should have vision for the country.
Experience, personal qualities of the candidate as well.
Welcome back to FtF Television. Like I mentioned before the break, one of the activities of the FtF initiative is a signature campaign. And what the campaign is trying to do is to secure specific electoral reforms. We're trying to reform the electoral process. So how do citizens get involved? You know, what does the ballot paper look like? Who are these persons in parliament? How do these persons get into public office? And the upcoming elections are an obvious opportunity to raise some questions about how can we improve our ways of governing? How can we make it more inclusive and more open? So why electoral reform? Let's take a look at this interview I was privileged to have with Major General Josing, retired. We'd like to welcome Major General Josing to our show. How are you today?
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, today we're going to be talking about a very touchy topic, elections. I know a lot of people don't like it and don't like to talk about it.
The track record of elections in Guyana has not been a very healthy one. Okay. And I rather suspect that this is why you have concerns, you know, is there going to be violence? Is it going to be, you know, run in a very efficient manner? And I think that the experiences of 2006 suggest to me that there is a serious attempt to manage the process as efficiently as possible. Actual process.
Yeah, the actual process is distracting for some people who might want to be interested in elections. They are kind of turned off, or it's young people especially, it's offsetting for them. Even if they're studying politics, they don't like that area. It's a major turn-off.
Yeah.
So.
One has to be a little more fundamental. I believe that schools need to reintroduce the subject of civics. How many persons who are going to be voting for the first time at age 18 really understand how Parliament functions? That act of putting your ballot in that box, what it signifies. Yes. If they don't have an understanding of the importance of this process and there's just a mechanical reaction to my name is on the list, therefore I can go and vote. Also, I believe the political parties contesting the elections have an obligation and a duty to ensure that they are engaged on an ongoing basis and not just wait until elections about to be held and then come out with all the pontification and the grandstanding as to what will be done and what won't be done.
As a young person, you always talk about your leaders and your leadership, but a problem that we have is that we only see a party. We see a party that governs everything, or it's an overarching system instead of these individual persons that you were saying, I appoint you, I feel comfortable that this person is my leader, or these persons are equipped.
I believe that...
I think that's the way we need to be.
Yeah, and I think in an incremental way, the advocacy and dialogue and discussions that have been taking place, such as you mentioned, is having some resonance, because party ideologues and some of the persons who've been there since the 50s and 60s and so on. I don't want to be disrespectful and say that they're fossilized in their thinking, but you need an injection of fresh ideas. You need to see what is happening in other countries, particularly those countries which came out of a colonial system and where leaders of that era had to start from the ground up. You know, people really knew nothing about the parliament and the functioning of democracy. Unfortunately, like many other countries, we lost our way because of the infighting. I think people recognize now that we either swim together or we sink. And that although we may have our differences in terms of the tactics, if we have a shared vision of the future, and particularly bringing on board young people, if we have that strategic vision, then we ought to be able to craft an implementation plan which is appealing to everyone. if they're truly reflecting the will of the people, then there ought to be some constant engagement to ensure that they are reflecting what it is people expect. That type of dialogue is in a sense left until the 11th hour.
Yeah, exactly.
So I believe that the engagement between those who desire to be the people's representatives and the citizens of the country is one that needs to be at a much more profound level.
That is where the FTF campaign is trying to work on. We want the elections process to be different. We want it to be less complicated, more reliable, more trustworthy, and more attractive, especially for us young people. The campaign has started. We have started collecting signatures for the reforms and the changes we want to see. Now that school is open, we're pushing for our website, so you can vote online, you can petition online for us. We want to get the university students engaged and well-known persons to sign on to our campaign also.
If young people are going to constitute 25 to 30% of the electorate, then it is absolutely vital that the education program in schools and in their community ensure that they are aware of the present system, so that if they are to be motivated to sign up on your advocacy listing for these changes to be made, then that's a powerful instrument.
We must thank Major General Joe Singh for being here. It was very enlightening. And the FTF signature campaign is still on. Please support.
Thank you very much for having me, and good luck in your program.
On August 1st in the National Park, our FTF signature campaign was first launched. To date, we have 3,000 plus signatures from all 10 regions. Signatures were generated from different organizations and also from the University of Guyana. We're confident that our numbers will increase as we gain momentum and the FTF website is better known. Stay tuned until the end of the program to find out more about how you can help support the FTF signature campaign.